Yeah, so the common question is, to really reframe it, is the idea of a infinite punishment as a consequence of a finite sin. So this person will say, I disobeyed Allah Almighty for X number of years. It can be quantified. How does that necessarily tally up with an eternal punishment? Surely I should be punished according to the duration that I rebelled against my Lord. That would seem to be just or fair. First of all, let's frame this or answer this under several subheadings. The first of them could be that justice, according to the Quranic narrative, cuts both ways. It's a door that swings in both directions. But we focus on one more than the other. So in the case of hell, yes, the Quran speaks at least in 3 places, خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا. They will stay in it forever. And the Quran says, خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا مَا دَامَتِ السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضِ. They will stay in it so long as the heavens and the earth endure. That's an Arabic expression to say it's لِلتَّأْبِيد, it is forever. But hold on a minute, is it just the punishment of the sinners that stays forever, or is it also those who do good? Paradise is also forever. So the consequence of our morality is not hinged purely upon an eternal punishment. It stands on equal footing. There is also an eternal reward. So why is it, just before we get into any other answer, that we will focus on the question of why should they suffer forever instead of the question of why should I enjoy paradise forever? Yeah, because the latter suits us. It's great to be in paradise forever for a part-time worship, but the other one, it's a little bit more difficult to understand. So that's the first thing. It's a door that swings both ways, and eternity stands on equal footing. That's number one. The second is that there is the concept of the gravity of a crime over the duration of the crime itself. In every courtroom in the world today, no one will say that a person's punishment should equate to the duration of the crime. Right? So a murder that may take 45 seconds, no man will ever say, no judge will ever say that you should be in prison for 45 seconds because that was the duration of the crime. But rather he would look at the gravity of what had happened. And if that crime necessitated, for example, the taking away of a soul, then we have no qualms with this person spending the rest of his life in prison. And many people would also have no qualms with this person being executed for his crime. That's a permanent consequence, a permanent worldly consequence. He's lost his life forever. For what? For a crime that may have costed him 1 second of his life. So now when you look at shirk and you assess it through this lens of gravity, shirk is not just an innocent misunderstanding. Shirk is a rebellion against your own design. Shirk is to go against the creator of the heavens and the earth, the consequence of which ripple beyond imagination. So of course, the gravity of this cannot be compared to any other crime. That's framing number 2, gravity over duration. The third is the aspect of warning that precedes accountability. It's not like we're being caught by surprise. Allah has codified it in the Quran. This is what to expect. So you may see it as harsh, but is it unjust? The answer is no. And I'll give you a worldly example. Imagine if there is a country that says, if you're caught speeding, you're going to be charged £10,000 or $10,000. Okay? Is that harsh? Yes, it's harsh. Is it unjust? You cannot argue that it's unjust because this is for the welfare of community, and more importantly, you've been warned, you've been told, don't speed. Now, if a person now speeds and he's within a country that says there is no penalty for speeding, and so the officer stops him and he takes from him 50 pence, 50 cents. Is it harsh? No. But is it unjust? Yes. Why? Because it wasn't codified. It wasn't mentioned. No one was forewarned. And that is why Allah sent messengers all throughout the generations to warn people. وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We would never punish a people, Allah said, till we first send them a messenger to communicate the law. So no one can claim that they were caught off guard. And then you have the fourth framing, which is Allah Almighty knows that the state of that person, had he been given many lives, he would commit the same sin and choose the kufr or shirk again and again and again. So yes, he may have rebelled against Allah Almighty for 70 years, 100 years, but Allah knows that this is not just a temporal behavior. That's a state of being that he has become. So should he have lived for another 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years, it would be the same outcome. And the Quran says this explicitly, وَرُدُّوا لَعَادُوا لِمَا نُهُوا عَنْهُ. If they were returned to the life of this world, they would go back to their original crimes. So this is not a person's crime per se that are being punished. It's a state, a person, a being that he has become, and there was no hope in this individual. And finally, I will say, Sheikh Omar, is this. In light of what has happened in Gaza, sometimes there are certain shocks that happen to our system that really return the rhythm of life back to our fitrah, our natural disposition. Sometimes we overcomplicate things and we over-intellectualize things. And we meet with people with corrupt ideas, or we read or watch things that we should have not watched, or simply tulul amad, a long time, and our hearts become rusty, and what used to be yesterday an assumption now becomes a doubt. Then guess what happens? Now that the fitrah, the natural disposition, has changed, then a shocking event happens like Gaza. And a genocide of a horrific scale, a community live streaming their killing. And we have seen death by every conceivable way. And all of a sudden, the heart wakes up again and it finds its rhythm, and all of the rust disappears, and what used to be an over-sophisticated concept now becomes very understandable, and all of a sudden nobody is asking about why the criminals should be punished forever. In fact, when we see the type of behavior that was exacted on our brothers and sisters there in Gaza, we say there isn't a punishment sufficient for them except eternity in hell. Mm-hmm. So I hope with these 5 points, this can give us some perspective, some type of balance as per how to understand and to submit and to accept and be pleased with the messaging of this hadith. Khulud, eternity, is a reality.